All right, welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Edge. This is an RPG and gaming news podcast. My name is Hat.
And I'm Eric.
And I am Stan.
And today we are going to be talking about some awesome 11 RPGs coming out for the remainder of 2020. There's been a lot of discussion on the internet, a lot of negativity about people complaining about, Nintendo doesn't have a lot of games coming out for the rest of the year. The only real game coming out on the console side that people are looking forward to is Cyberpunk. We're in the last year of this generation. Things are a little bit slow right now, but there's actually some really exciting games to play. So we're going to be going over the trailers, giving our thoughts on the trailers, giving our thoughts on the games, for a little bit of what we know anyways, and just kind of informing you guys about some of the games and possibilities for what you could be playing for the remainder of this year. And it should be a pretty good episode. But before we jump into all that, I do want to bring up that we are waiting on one person, Badger, to let us know what game that you would like us to play. Your options are Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition, Final Fantasy 9, Super Mario RPG, Ni no Kuni, or Tales of Vesperia. Go ahead and pick one of those. Leave your selection in the comment. If we don't get a response from you by the next podcast, we're going to go ahead and change it up and do something different to kind of finish this up. But we're giving you one more week. So please let us know. We have Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy 9, Super Mario RPG, Ni no Kuni, or Tales of Vesperia. What game do you want us to discuss and devote an entire episode to in a spoiler fashion? Let us know in the comments. All right, so like I said, we're going to be discussing 11 RPGs coming out in 2020, and if we have time at the end, we will be talking about some of the games that we've been playing also, so it should be a pretty chill and fun episode. But jumping into our first game that just came out tomorrow, so when you guys see this today, is Mortal Shell. So let me get this up on the screen here, but this is a game that came across my radar just recently, and I'm actually kind of liking what I see here, to be honest.
Nice.
Okay, so I got this plan here. All right. So basically, this is a game. It's releasing, like I said, August 18th. So it's coming out tomorrow. It's $29.99, and it's going to be on PS4, Xbox One, the Epic Game Store, and it's going to be on Steam in 2021. But it's $29.99. So that's a great price point to jump on board. It's developed by Cold Symmetry, which is a new studio that started in 2017, and it's a core team of 15 veteran game developers. They say they're credited with some of the biggest AAA games out there right now. They didn't really go into too much detail on their pedigree on their website, but I'm going to take their word for it based upon what we see here. And it's getting, right now we're starting to see reviews at the moment, and it's, you either love it or you're like, it's okay. But by and large, it's pretty much heavily inspired by Dark Souls. Even the developers said that it's inspired by Dark Souls. That's the goal here. And it's basically trying to reinvent that formula. And a lot of the people that have played it have said, you know what, for $29.99, this was a great experience. It's about 20 hours, and it involves a character who is able to switch classes through a concept that the game calls shells that they can possess. So you go through different areas in these dungeons, and you can encounter challenges that allow you to possess new shells. And each shell has a specific skill set that would be advantageous for certain situations. And so with that in mind, that allows you to get a little bit of different variety in how you approach enemies, and allows you to gain advantage if you have the appropriate shell. So before I go any further, what do you guys think about this game? Is this something that appeals to you, and just kind of your general thoughts with Mortal Shell?
I mean, it looks good. I mean, graphically, it looks really good for something they're only selling for $30, and a 20 hour experience on top of that. That's usually, this is the kind of quality that AAA usually gives. So I can already give them props for that. I'm seeing the videos. It is pretty much Dark Souls inspired. I don't know if the difficulty is also going to be an inspiration for the game, but it does look like, Dark Souls. It's like,
supposed to be
even like down
pretty.
to its dreaded looking tone.
Yeah.
It feels like a Dark Souls game. Now the shell system is very interesting. That is what will make it potentially stand out, because Dark Souls, you pick your class at the beginning and that's what you are for the rest of the game. And
Yeah, I mean,
and it'd be cool to kind of strategize, but I think at the same time, like, people might go, okay, this job is obviously not suited for this boss fight. Let me just switch over to this one and make it the easiest. I'm kind of worried that people won't try to experiment with each job and just try to go for the what's the easiest one to follow through with.
So from what I've seen with people that have covered it and have played it, they have said that for the most part the game's quite difficult, in the sense that enemies can kill you with like 2 hits. So it's pretty gruesome going through the game, but it's also very rewarding. But the one piece of criticism that I did see is that there's an item that you can acquire kind of 3/4 of the way through the game that dramatically increases your health. Now it's optional to get this item, but once you get that item, the battles become really easy. But until you get that item, it's just like straight Dark Souls. Just some of the enemies kill you in 1 hit. So it's just like you pretty much have to just be on top of your A game the entire time. And for a lot of people that enjoy that type of approach to gaming, this I think is like a good option, especially right now, because like you said, Eric, it is only $29.99. I'm thinking of back to Hellblade, Sinuous Sacrifice. That did really well at the price point it launched at. I mean, this game could have easily been $50, and it probably, no one would have even blinked an eye. So this is a great price point. I mean, we're at the end of the generation right now. I think that people are really looking for something to play, and I think that this could really hit that itch for them. But Stan, what'd you think?
Pretty much the same. Good price, and based on the trailer, like, looks like you're getting a really good quality game for that price.
All right, you guys want to move on? Next game?
Sure.
All right, so we have Crystal Chronicles. I feel like this is a game that Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles is a game that needs no intro, but it's coming out on August 27th. It's going to be on the PS4, Switch, iOS, and Android. It's going to be $29.99, and as you all know, it's developed by Square Enix. And it's a re-release of the GameCube version from 2003 with enhanced features. On the website, they said there's new voiceovers. There's an online multiplayer, which includes crossplay with other, whether you have it on Switch, PS4, or mobile. There is no offline multiplayer, however. There's a new mimic feature, which lets your character take on the form of different people you meet on your journey. And somehow that's going to tie into the gameplay. Initially, the game received pretty lukewarm reviews on the GameCube, but since coming out and over time, it has grown more fond in people's memory. So this is a game that I'm seeing a lot of excitement for, and I'm probably going to pick it up. I'm going to be honest. Where are you guys at with this?
For me, I am pretty excited for it. My sister wants to get the game also, so we've already got 2 of the 4. Now we just need to recruit 2 more people, and we'll have a fun time playing through the game.
So how do you?
I played.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I played it back on the GameCube, multiplayer with 4 people, and we had to hook up all the link cables, to the GameCube and everything, and it was a big hassle, but it was a lot of fun. Wasn't
it on like a Game Boy? You had to have it use a Game Boy Advance or something like that to connect it?
Yeah, you had your own screen there. And that was so that if somebody had to pause and like go into their equipment menu for the game continued on the main screen like for everyone else. So if you're like in your inventory, like looking at your items or equipment or spells or whatever, you're not slowing everybody down. So
yeah.
That was a nice feature. I don't know if it was worth the money for everybody having to have their own Game Boy and everything.
See, that's just weird to me that like to think that was a thing, because that has no awareness of future proofing your game, right? The idea that you would like build the entire game and have this feature where you have to have a Game Boy Advance, and
right.
like, because clearly Game Boy Advances are not going to be a thing for eternity, whereas just having an alternate controller, a split screen, that type of thing would be. But I think it's kind of cool that they did that and allowed the game to keep that flowing nature to the gameplay while being able to look in your menu. But I see a lot of people that are actually kind of angry about this not having an offline multiplayer, meaning, if you invite somebody over to your house or whatever, they can't sit there and play the game with you. They have to connect with you via the, online, whether it's through their iPhone or a PS4 or the Switch. And that's got a lot of people mad because they're like, hey, why should everybody have to own a console and the game also? That's kind of ridiculous. But I mean, me personally, I like with where I'm at in my life, I don't have a roommate, right? I don't have a spouse that to play this with. So most of the people I would play this with locally or people I've known, online or whatever, we're going to play online because I would much rather sit at home and play it in my own house than have to go to like Joe's house on Fridays to play this, right? So it doesn't particularly bother me that it doesn't have an offline multiplayer mode. You're back?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we lost Eric for a little bit, but he's back.
Yeah, my electricity blinked for some reason. Weird enough, it only took out my room in here, my computer in the other room, and my modem. But it didn't take out my wife's computer. So I don't know if the wind outside is out to get me tonight, but
well, maybe it was Square Enix because they knew we were about to talk about Crystal Chronicles, and they were like, "No, we can't have this guy talking about this game because he's going to trash it." Are you going to pick up Crystal Chronicles, Eric? Are you picking it up at the end of this month? $29.99.
I'm gonna try the light version at least first.
Oh, the Switch Lite version.
I don't know which version. I may do the PC version. Just because it's much easier to communicate with people through Discord and stuff like that. Because you'll most likely want to play with other people.
Is it coming to PC on August 27th? Because right now I just see PS4, Switch, iOS, and Android.
I think it's supposed to be. I can
regardless, you're going to pick up some form of it. So, how do you feel, Eric, about there being no offline multiplayer? The fact that you have to use online multiplayer to crossplay with people, is that an issue for you? Because it's been an issue online.
It's a little sad on nostalgic level, but I think in the large scope of things, I don't think it's that relevant anymore, especially since everyone's online, and on top of that, everyone's at home.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, how can you social distance if you're you're playing with your friends and with this game? That's a good point. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to pull out the old Game Boy Advances and plug them in and play with people again. That was a fun, good time. But, I think it's just fine if we all bring our own Switches. And here's the thing, too. You can, there's so many ways to play the game that, like, even if your friends don't have a Switch or a PS4, I mean, like Blizzard says, don't you have a phone? Like you can,
yeah, but
play on that technically too if you want.
Each person has to spend $30, right? So, but the thing is,
well, not for the light version.
So how much is the light version then?
It's free.
$0.
$0. Okay, so I missed this part. So, go ahead.
Yeah, if you get the light version, it's essentially the first 3 dungeons of the game. So it's like a demo essentially, right? You get to play 3 dungeons.
Okay.
But if somebody has the full game and they invite players to their session, so that they're like the host, whoever has the full game is like hosting the game.
Right.
Players who have the light edition can play up to 13 dungeons with the player who has paid full price.
Wants to be the sap who buys the game.
So if you do that, then you can play a big chunk of the game, like, you know, split up $30 between 4 people somehow. And
But somebody has to play it on mobile, and they can only play it when that person is logged in. That owns the game, right?
I think so I just checked. The game is not coming to PC, at least not according to this chart here on Wikipedia. It's Switch, PS4, iOS, and Android only.
That's crazy. It's not on PC.
So no Xbox version either, for whatever reason. I'm not sure.
I'm sure it'll eventually come there, but yeah.
Yeah, probably eventually. But
I guess which version it is, unless it like just runs better on PS4 in all accounts.
Yeah.
Because I'll probably play it console mostly.
I think you can get the light version on any platform, like PS4, Switch, or mobile.
Mm-hmm.
So really, and I don't know how much of a percentage of the game 13 dungeons is. It's been a while since I played the game.
Right.
So, and I know they added more dungeons for this version as well. So
here's the thing that concerns me about this game, though. Okay, the game was, it wasn't trashed in the reviews when it came out. I know there was a lot of expectations when this game was announced that this was going to be like the Final Fantasy X on the GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
Like people thought, and that's just not what the game is. It's a dungeon crawling game. You know, it's got a story there, but you're not gonna be weeping at the end or anything like that. It's just kind of a premise. But a lot of people had expectations for this game. But even then, there were people that, if you go back and read the reviews, the general reception was that it was kind of a mediocre. It was a good game, but it wasn't great. And that was in 2003. So I wonder how it's going to hold up 17 years later, right? And the elements that people did not like about the original game, how that's going to hold up now. You know, I see people complaining that like, you had to carry the freaking what is that, a lamp or something?
The chalice, I think it's called.
The lamp. The chalice.
That is the worst thing about the game easily, is that chalice.
Yeah.
I understand the story reasons behind it, but seriously, and the original purpose of it was so all 4 players would stop trying to fight each other for the camera.
Yeah, because without it, you can just spread out to all 4 corners of the map, right? And then it would get too big. Yeah,
you would freak the game out because it's not like the online mode or there was no online mode back then, but in single player mode, a Moogle picks it up and follows you around with it because you're not fighting other players. But when you do have other players, someone wants to go right, someone wants to go left, someone goes up, someone goes down. The camera, I believe, stays focused on who has the chalice. So you have to stick with him or you get stuck in the miasma, which I guess solved a gameplay issue. But we have online mode now. Could they not? I mean, I guess they would have to rework some code, but like that's not a thing anymore. Can we have like a reason to it, or at least like everyone have their own chalice / Moogle?
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like there were things about the original, like this chalice issue, that people were kind of mediocre on about, but it was in 2003, and we were a little bit more forgiving back then because obviously mechanics have changed, they've evolved, we've streamlined certain processes. So I'm curious to see how the reception of this game is going to be at the end of this month once people have to carry that freaking chalice around again,
Yeah,
and do stuff like that.
Like you have to decide between 4 people who's going to carry it. Like you're the person. Now, granted, you can drop the chalice in a certain spot. Like if you want to join combat, you just have to drop it. But it feels like an unneeded responsibility to give someone.
Can't they like put it like on a backpack or something? And like, I don't know.
No, you have to carry it around, and while you're carrying it, there's no other action you can take except move around.
But I mean,
so you have to drop it, and then
that's what I'm saying.
And then you can fight. Yeah.
If they wanted to update it, they could have had a backpack or like a mini spell that would just miniaturize it, and then it was just something to put in their pocket or something.
All they had to do in the original game was, if you're in multiplayer mode, have the party leader be designated as the person who has the circle around him, and then players just have to stick within that circle altogether.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have to have the feature of carrying the chalice.
But doesn't the chalice tie into the story?
It does.
It does.
See,
Yeah.
I'm with you guys though. Like, I don't care if that how much. What's the story payoff for you carrying the chalice? I think they
You
could have
don't die
rewritten.
to miasma.
I think they could have like done something different, like a ring or something, right? They don't
like,
need some
like they can wear a ring that protects the certain area around them, or
yeah, they don't need to like have some giant thing that like slows gameplay down. Like, no, it's required. You know, like what's the real story payoff here for this? You know, I mean, Final Fantasy 15, we have Ignis, who's something happens to him, and then like he clearly cannot, like from a gameplay perspective, he can't battle as well, and it's kind of cumbersome. But there's a story payoff for that. It's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
What's the story payoff for this freaking chalice?
Well, they have to fill it up with some special kind of water called myrrh, and then when it's full, they take it back to their village, and that like essentially keeps the village going for another year. So every year they have to go out on a journey to fill up the chalice and then bring it back to the village.
That's preposterous.
That's the basic idea, because the whole world is consumed with like a poison, and the crystals are the only thing keeping it back. Yeah. I agree, though. It's a solution to a gameplay issue, but it's not a very elegant solution.
Yeah.
It was like I feel like what's that saying I've heard before? The Yahtzee expression. It's like you just jumped over a pothole just to fall off a cliff type deal. That like it could have been solved so easily by just having the party leader of the group be the one where the circle revolves around. Then the player 2, 3, and 4 just have to be in the circle with player 1.
Yeah.
And the circle is significantly big, so people can stay within and catch up easily. And gameplay wise, the thing doesn't have to be this big where you have to carry it over your head like this. It can just be like in your backpack. You pull it out of your backpack and be like, oh, here we go. Save the village.
Yeah. Or like you mentioned in the single player mode, you don't have to carry it because there's like a little Moogle who carries it, and he like flies behind you with it. And you could just in the multiplayer have that same Moogle holding it, but just program it so that he always follows player 1, like you said, so player 1 has control. Yeah.
Or even that, you can give it to another player if you want, and have the chalice follow him instead.
See, I haven't really played this game, so I was trying to. What I was getting at was, for the story purpose, was there some kind of like meaningful metaphor, like, oh, you have to carry it because it's the burden that we carry, or something, or is it just literally
like Jesus on the cross?
Yeah, like Jesus. Exactly. Jesus had to carry his cross, you know, the day he's going to get crucified on. It's the similar concept, but it sounds like it's literally just a gameplay thing with.
It's a gameplay thing that they tied into the setting, just not super well. But
yeah.
Right. But we've been talking about, this is a game that people might want to check out because there's not a lot going on for the rest of 2020. So let's hit on some positive aspects of this game, because we've just been trashing it about this freaking chalice. So number 1, multiplaying with your friends. That sounds like a great time, right?
Yes.
And then $29.99, and the fact that they can play it on their phone, so only one person has to buy the game, is freaking awesome too. So it's very pro-consumer. Number 3.
Did they confirm, before you move on that point, did they confirm if there's like a cloud save or not? Like if I decide I want to play on my phone one day and then when I get home, I want to play on my PS4. Did they ever confirm something like that?
I haven't seen anything. Have you, Stan?
No, I only saw cross-platform play. Like Switch users can play with phone users, and phone users can play with PS4 users, and so on. But I don't know about cross-save. Only cross-play so far.
Well,
okay, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. And if somebody knows, let us know in the comments, and we'll pin that in the comment section. So if you're curious, just look in the comment section. But I think also this remaster looks great. Like something about GameCube games, especially that era when they get remastered, they just look really, really good. And I think this looks really polished and just, I mean, it looks very attractive. to look at with the aesthetic and just, I don't know, the soft colors and how it all blends together. I think it looks really, really good. And the fact that they've added these voiceovers to it, or these new voiceovers, I think is going to add a lot to the game as well. So
Yeah, the game still to me looks like a PS2 GameCube era game, but it does look nice aesthetically, which helps make up big time for it.
yeah,
So in that respect, the game doesn't look very outdated because of that. There are some aspects that do, like the townsfolk and such, but the main characters, they look like they touched up pretty well.
yeah. Stylistically, it still looks very, I would say, a modern touch to it. So I think it looks great. So I'm excited. I'm probably going to pick it up.
If I'm going to say something more positive about it,
go ahead.
The dungeon crawling is fun. It is like the multiplayer aspect is most definitely the most fun thing about the game. I will say if you play it by yourself, it will feel a little boring after a while.
Yeah.
But if you're playing with friends and you're just goofing off and playing together, it's a good time in that regard. I'm not sure if the game has a extreme longevity value to it. I think like really once you do everything, you're not really tempted to come back to it so much. But I think the journey you do take and the cooperation you do with your friends through the dungeons is a real good time.
Yeah, the really only replay value of it is if you wanted to play as a different class, because there's like 4 class of characters. There's like a human, and then like a shorter, I can't remember the name, the shorter
the short
like melee class, and then there's like a spellcaster, like a tall spellcaster class, and then there's a more agile, like kind of like a ninja type of class. Yeah. And so you pick one character and you have to go through the whole game. But then you can always start a new file with a new campaign and pick a different class if you want.
Yeah. But it seems to me like the real appeal here is the multiplayer. It's not really
I think so, yeah, for sure.
Adventure.
I wouldn't really recommend it for somebody who's just going to play the single player campaign. I think that gets kind of tedious, like Eric said.
Yeah.
I think even Square Enix knows this to an extent, which is why they have the light version.
Probably.
And they want you to play multiplayer. They want you to get online. Stuff like that. So
very cool. All right. Well, it's exciting to finally be able to play it. I mean, it was announced, like last year. And back then, Final Fantasy VIII Remaster wasn't even announced. And that game ended up being announced and released, in between the time this was announced. So.
Yeah, Crystal Chronicles Remaster was supposed to come out in January, but then they delayed it to the summer, and now it's coming out at the very end of summer.
Must be all these
but I wonder if it's
textures.
for that. Yeah, I wonder if it's for that light version and like the voice acting, because right when it was about to come out in January, before it was delayed, like none of those features were revealed or announced yet.
I think you're right, because like Eric was saying, Square Enix knows that the appeal here is the multiplayer. And if the multiplayer was having issues with crossplay and this game got negative press, that would just sink the sales.
Kill it.
Right?
Yeah, right out the gate. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. So, all right, let's move on to the next game. I'm excited about this next game. I'm interested to see what Eric thinks about this next game, because he's either going to like it or not like it. But Oceanhorn 2 Knights of the Lost Realm. This is the Golden Edition. So this game has a release date of fall 2020. It was just announced for Switch. It's already been out since September 2019 on the Apple Arcade. It was an exclusive to the Apple Arcade, and so it was quite a surprise when it was announced for the Switch. The Oceanhorn 1 is available on Switch right now, though, for $15, so that's something. But this is a much higher quality game. I don't want to say quality, but a production value. It's clearly more expensive than the first game. But anyways, so we don't have a price yet, but the creators of the Oceanhorns games say that they are big Nintendo fans and they're huge Zelda fans. And I think that if you're watching this trailer and you've ever played a Zelda game ever, even for 10 minutes, this game is clearly inspired by Zelda. But before we get into that, let's get into what some of the stuff is going to be in this game in the Golden Edition that they're bringing to the Switch. So the Golden Edition itself, they are promising many upgrades, which includes standard bug fixes, transparency on XP distribution, and an improved UI. But also, it's going to have 60 FPS gameplay, an enhanced ending, 2 new in-depth story quest lines called The Shield of Kronos and Criminal Hunts, an additional dungeon, and over 100 new voiceovers. So that's quite a lot of content for this new and improved version. And yeah, the game's supposed to take place 1,000 years before the original game. And like I said before, you can buy the original Oceanhorn 1 on Switch right now for $14.99. And that game, as a small side tangent, was notable for having Nobuo Uematsu contribute music to it, among other composers. And then Ray Chase, the voice actor for Noctis, also did a character in the original, and I think he's returning for this game as well. And then it also had the composer of the Saga games. So had some big name people working on the game or contributing to the game. And yeah, this game's coming out sometime in 2020. Like I said, it was just announced, so I'm sure we'll be getting a release date, perhaps at that Nintendo Indie that's coming up. But Eric, since you are, I presume, the biggest Zelda fan here, this has not been sitting well with all Zelda fans. Some Zelda fans have just been screaming bloody murder, and then others are like, no, this is cool because I like Zelda. These people look at this as a passion project, so I'm excited to play it. Where do you sit, Eric?
Well, I have played the first game, and I have played some of the second game.
All right. What'd you think?
So, drum roll, please. Yeah, it's all right.
It's all right. That's it.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's a good time.
I played through Oceanhorn 1. It doesn't nowhere near meet the quality of a Zelda game. It is rough around the edges in a lot of places.
The first game.
But
right.
The first game, yes. But it is the first game is very reminiscent of 2D style Zelda games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it does a good job in what it inspires from. I think it's a very comfy, above average game. If you are a Zelda fan and you are clamoring for a Zelda type game, Oceanhorn on the Switch, I don't recommend playing with touch controls. I tried that and it doesn't feel right.
Oh, on the iPhone, yeah.
Yeah, which I'll get with Oceanhorn 2 in a second. But if you like the 2D style Zelda games and you're looking for a Zelda-like game, Oceanhorn, I think, more than delivers on that. There are definitely differences. It's not a 100% clone of Zelda's gameplay mechanics and ideas. They do try to add some of their own stuff in once in a while. They add, RPG mechanics and stuff. So if you're into that stuff, Oceanhorn is a good Zelda-inspired game.
Just to be clear, this is that you're talking about the original right now, the number 1.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Now, Oceanhorn 2 is very inspired by 3D Zelda games.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not beat that because I tried the free trial of the Apple Play Store.
Mm-hmm.
And I played through it, and it's not a fault of the game itself. It's just that with that type of game, it's really hard to use touch controls for.
Yeah.
So I kind of lost interest because of it. But it seemed to be pretty okay. I think a lot of my thoughts of Oceanhorn 1 jumps over to 2, just in the mind of 3D Zelda. I think they have a pretty decent idea of what makes Zelda a good game. And they kind of have some ideas from classic 3D Zelda games like Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. And then they got some little ideas in there from Breath of the Wild also, in terms of like how the menu system works,
yeah,
and everything, and clearly how the character looks.
It's like Link's brother. Yeah.
I'll give a better review when the Switch version comes out, because I definitely want to play with a classic controller. And I could get a controller for my iPad, but I don't feel like
Yeah.
setting it up. And if they're going to have all these improvements for the Switch version, I'm just going to wait for the Switch version.
Yeah,
and get it.
It's a no-brainer. I mean, if you have the option between playing this on an iPad or actually with a controller, I totally agree. Play this on the Switch. Plus, it's going to have all these enhancements and stuff too, and 60 frames per second gameplay. That's what was on their website, anyways. So that's pretty impressive. I mean, I wonder what the price is going to be though. But Apple's has like a monthly subscription service where you just get to pay like $6 a month, and then you get to play these games for free. So I wonder what it's going to cost on the Switch. But if this is priced correctly, I mean, I think this could be a really big hit. And I mean, to the people that are like complaining about how much this looks like Zelda, like I just don't get that, because I don't work at Nintendo. So I'm going to leave Nintendo to defend their own product. And
it totally reminds me of Zelda the first second I see it.
Yeah, but like Nintendo is putting this game on their console, right? So they're making money off of it. And,
they must not be too offended.
Right. So the idea that like you people would just be trying to defend Nintendo, a corporation, it's just like Nintendo does not pay me money to avoid something that's a good time, right? So if I'm going to have a good time with something, I don't care if they copied something else. I'm going to play it. And I saw nobody complaining about the indie game Blossom Tales, which was very 2D Zelda inspired. Everyone seemed to understand that they were just, it was like a tribute to Zelda, like it was a passion project. So I look at this in the same vein. Like these are people that grew up with Zelda, always liked Zelda, and just always wanted to create their own Zelda game. They can't. So now this is it. And I mean, I think it does have some differences. There's some more sci-fi elements. I see like this robot character that you talk to, which doesn't seem like it's quite fitting for a Zelda game entirely. So it does have some differences, but yeah, the main character, dude, he looks like Link's cousin or something, which is probably.
Let me put it this way: people have been trying to make Zelda games for 35 years now.
Yeah.
So
it's not that easy.
What's the difference with this game?
Yeah,
it's just a product of this generation now. We're going to be 3 generations ahead, and people are still going to try to make the closest Zelda game they possibly can without Nintendo coming in with the lawsuit.
Well, and Nintendo, yeah, that's true. And Nintendo's not even really making this Zelda game, this style of Zelda game anymore, at least right now. I guess they had Link's Awakening, but that's not quite the same thing. But Breath of the Wild's going an entirely different route for a while, at least, which is cool. It's very successful, but people don't mind when indie developers make 2D styled games that are Zelda inspired, because they understand that Nintendo's not making that style of Zelda game anymore. Well, I think we're at this generation where they're not really making the style that you're seeing in Oceanhorn 2 either. They're going more with this more open world, just like, climbing cliffs and stuff. Whereas this seems more, I want to say like almost N64 or like kind of later than that generation, at least to me anyways. But Stan, what'd you think?
I'm sorry, one sec. Let me interrupt one thing.
Sure.
I don't think they ever stopped making 2D Zeldas, ever.
Well, I mean, in a serious way, the way that people liked.
You telling me Minish Cap wasn't serious?
Well, okay, I haven't seen that many people like talking about Minish Cap like they talk
Link
about
to the Past, right? Yeah.
I understand that fans liked Minish Cap, or there has its people that liked Minish Cap, but I don't feel like that's like their major priority anymore.
Wow. More of my point is there have been 2D like Zeldas for almost every handheld console after the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I guess I mean like that's not really their like main focus anymore. That's not like their main project, if you will. But that is a fair point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Stan. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I also played the first Oceanhorn game. I went to an event and got luckily got a free code for it long after it had come out, so I wasn't like ahead of the game or anything there. But I enjoyed it, but I ultimately didn't finish it. There was something about it that was a little lacking, I think. Maybe it is just because I was so used to, 2D Zelda and like how refined it is. The first game I thought was a little, I don't know. Maybe it was so similar to Zelda, it felt like too, I don't know. Like I just lost interest over at a certain point.
That's fair.
But Oceanhorn 2, I think looks good. And like you said, Hat, it's nice that it is maybe serving a different function in that it's more of a traditional 3D Zelda type game, while Nintendo is made Breath of the Wild, and more than likely the next one is Breath of the Wild 2 or the sequel, and it's going to be in a similar gameplay style as Breath of the Wild. So if you're longing for that, it'd be great.
It'd be hilarious if Breath of the Wild 2 comes out and it's just like very retro Zelda, like
eight
very,
dungeons and that's the end, right?
Yeah, very, very linear.
Yeah, that would not go over well.
The
probably
internet would freak out. Yeah.
Yeah. And then from the list of features you listed at the beginning, it has 60 FPS gameplay, at least in the Golden Edition that's coming out soon.
Right.
That's a
big deal.
Pretty impressive for the Switch if they can keep 60 FPS, and based on the trailer of how this game looks, because it's 3D. I'm not sure what engine it's in, but it's like a 3D, stylized graphics. They're not going for realism, but it looks pretty good. And if they can maintain 60 frames per second on the Switch in handheld mode too, that would be very impressive.
That's what their website says. So
yeah.
I absolutely like the art direction of Oceanhorn 2. Like it looks very appealing. Like you see this going through the Switch store, like it will definitely catch your eye. Especially like if you're, it doesn't look like Zelda art aesthetically that much. The main character has a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of like different type of colors and like bright, beautiful features and everything that like a JRPG player is definitely going to see this and be like, oh wow, this looks like beautiful. I want to see what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's got that look to it when you pass by it in the store.
Yeah, it looks good. I'll definitely think about picking it up. Depending on the price, though, as Hat said, it needs to be priced appropriately. I don't think it shouldn't be anywhere close to 60. Like I would think 40 at the most, in my opinion.
I think
that would
20
be a
at
good
the
value.
most.
20 at the most.
20 at the most.
I guess it depends how long it is too. How much gameplay is there?
See, if the original's 15, right? The original's 15 and it's a much lower production value. It's more 2D, but it's kind of like that 2D, 3D look, right? 3D models in a 2D space.
Yeah.
I could see this game being about 25. If they come out at 40 or 50, I think that's just going to kill it. So.
I think the most I'd be willing to spend on it is $30.
I can agree with that.
That's fair.
I mean, if it was more than that, but it was getting just like killer reviews, I could probably be talked into it. But generally speaking, for me to just take a chance on it, I can't see any more than 30. But regardless, I do want to check this out. I hope they have a demo for the Switch before it comes out that I can play, because to me, this just looks like a great thing to pick up right now, with Nintendo not really having a lot of big announcements, at least right now, for a lot of people. This seems like a great time killer to be able to play. I mean, it just seems like a no-brainer to me. So,
mm-hmm.
All right. So we confirmed Eric will be picking this up on day one. Let's move on to the next game.
Yeah, I might be.
This next game is also Zelda inspired. It's called Windbound, and it's coming to the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PC, and Google Stadia, which is surprising that that's still
my favorite console.
the Stadia. The thing that, anyways, I was thinking
it's
retro.
Still around.
Yeah, retro collectors, 20 years from now, are they going to pick that up? There's no games you can play on it. Anyways, so it's going to be this game, Windbound. It's going to be $29.99. It's created by Five Live Studios, and the concept around it is the main character, whose name is Kara, is traveling the Forbidden Islands in search of its mysteries. You craft weapons and tools. You ride a raft or a glider. You hang glide, and then you solve puzzles as well as combat fierce creatures. So yeah, this is the game. This is what they've shown us. Anyways, what do you guys think before I get into this game?
I mean,
Breath of the Wild?
I mean, it's most definitely Breath of the Wild inspired. There is no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I guess we are getting to that point now that people want to make Breath of the Wild like games now, which I can't argue against it. I think that's a good thing. I think people should take inspiration from that game when making their open world style games. So,
right.
And again, this does have a nice aesthetic to it. It's not exactly, it kind of looks like it's on the budget a little bit. Excuse me, but I mean, it looks like it uses colors nicely. The open field looks nice and lush and doesn't look flat.
Yeah, it looks
much or anything.
It looks like I agree with you. It looks like it is on a budget. I think it actually was Kickstarter, to be honest, but it looks like they used that money well, and that like at first glance it looks really high budget or very no expense spared. Until you look a little bit closer, you can kind of see some of the cracks. The first thing that kind of stood out to me though with this trailer is that I don't feel like the music really fits the game that they're showing here, because like the music itself, it just lacked like a punch to it that really matched what was on screen. And so it kind of made what they were showing here to be or seem a little stiff. But when I actually look at the animations themselves, they don't seem that stiff. Like the facial expressions on the character seem very expressive. The movements all seem very smooth to me. I mean, the waves seem to be very lifelike in a sense. So, I mean, that seems like a quality game here. I just think it had a really crappy trailer, to be honest. But I guess the biggest thing that concerns me, though, is with this game is, while it is beautiful, I just feel like I don't know the premise. I need a premise. I like Breath of the Wild. I knew the premise going in, right? Because I've played Zelda games before. Like I kind of get what it is. This game is just like, I need more than she's traveling the Forbidden Islands in search of mysteries, because I feel like I'm going to cut down like 25 trees on a Friday night and then I'm never going to play it again.
Here's the thing. The developer is called Five Live Studio. The publisher is Deep Silver. Deep Silver publishes many different things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But this company, Five Lives, is has two games on its rep. One from 2015, Satellite Rain, and Windbound coming out this year. Satellite Rain came out in 2015, so it kind of looks like these developers take their time in making a game. But their Rain game is a real-time tactics game, and it looks like it got average to above average reviews. On Steam, it's 7 out of 10. Humble Bundle, it's 81%. PC Gamer gave it an 80%. 80% of Google users like the game. So they have only two games so far, but their first game had decent reviews on it, and it looks like it's a very small team.
Yeah.
On top of that. So I think there's hope for this game.
Dude, it's only $29.99 though. I keep forgetting that. It's only $30.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If there's passion behind the project, then it could be definitely worth that price at least.
Yeah. Stan?
Yeah, I think it looks good. Art style looks good. I like the raft. Like in the trailer, you can kind of see it like keeps getting bigger as the trailer goes on.
Oh, does
she's like adding more planks and like more sails to it.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
Yeah, like by the end, she's still on the back of the raft, but it's like this huge huge thing that she's steering now.
Contraption, yeah. And there's no real reason for you to have a boat that big, right? If you're one person.
I mean, only if you were going through some like rougher waters.
That's
maybe like to get out to open sea, you need to like
a bigger
upgrade
boat.
the raft to be bigger. Otherwise, you'd get thrown around by the waves or something.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. But
I'm not
a
sailor, so I don't know.
I'm not either. I'm just speculating, but it looks good. I don't know if it's definitely Zelda inspired and more Breath of the Wild inspired compared to the game we were just looking at, or Oceanhorn. Right. But I haven't played Breath of the Wild yet, so
crying out loud.
I thought you have a Switch and you haven't bought in Breath of the Wild.
No, I haven't played it yet.
Almost everyone who buys a Switch gets Breath of the Wild with it.
Jesus Christ, Stan! That was my first game that I bought with the Switch was Breath of the Wild.
I bought the Switch late. I bought it like around the time Smash Brothers came out, which was like almost a year later.
Oh, you're one of those guys. Okay.
Yeah, and there was more games to play other than, like, I know when it first came out, it was like Breath of the Wild was the only big game that was on it, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, if you want to pick it up now, it's only $55.
True. I actually know somebody who has it, and they'd be willing to let me borrow it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet because I'm playing
I got you.
Horizon, and I still haven't played Witcher 3, and like, so yeah. I mean, anyway, back to Windbound. It looks like an excellent game, especially for the price point.
The one thing that concerns me, and I'm watching the gameplay video of it right now, the character looks very stiff and feels like it has limited animation to her character.
Her running animation is a little stiff. I agree with that. But then like the combat animations where she's like doing somersaults and stuff look much more smooth, and especially like the story sequences, which, you know, clearly they're going to put more emphasis in that, look a little bit more smooth. But yeah, I agree. When she's running, it definitely, she looks like she's, you know, a little sore.
Here's one of the biggest things that makes Zelda what it is the Nintendo philosophy is, and obviously it failed with Star Fox Zero, but the philosophy is the game has to feel good within the first 3 minutes of playing it. And when you play Breath of the Wild for the first time, the game feels so smooth to play. Link feels so flexible, like feels light, but feels like there's weight there at the same time. Like they get the feeling of moving Link and combating with him feels so ridiculously good. And even the game like Link Between Worlds, like the satisfaction of constantly hitting B for the sword and moving around feels really good. So when you make a game like this, you have to convince your audience within, I think, at least within the first 10 minutes of the game, that this game feels really good. Like the character feels very natural to play with. And if the character feels very stiff coming right out of the game, those first 10 minutes are going to turn people off. And then we get into you'll just get used to it territory, which I don't think is good game design if you have to tell someone, oh, you'll get used to it.
Yeah. So this game might not be quite as smooth as Breath of the Wild, but Breath of the Wild is a highly revered game. And for $29.99, this might be a good game to kind of fill that itch. If you just feel like you've played Breath of the Wild, 1,000 hours, and maybe you just want to try another game with a slightly different flavor to it, you're okay with putting up with maybe not quite as smooth of, animations just because it's a little bit lower budget, and trying something new. This might be something that's really worth a shot, I think. Especially for the price point. So.
Yeah, I'll keep my eye on it. If it's something that's really good, I do like the idea of exploring ruins and such that I see in the gameplay video. I think going out and look for those sounds like fun in itself. So if the reviews are favorable, I'll definitely give it a try.
Yep. August 28th, $29.99, coming to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PC, and the most superb version, Google Stadia. That'll be on August 28th.
See, it would have been Stadia if it didn't say Switch.
Yeah, that's true. So the next game here, we're back to a Western game. or Western styled game anyways. Kingdoms of Amalur, Re-Reckoning. Probably pronounced that incorrectly. I apologize, but it's coming out on September 8th, 2020. It's going to be $39.99. It's coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Developer Kaiko and THQ Nordic. And it's a remaster of the original game that came out in 2012. Review scores on the original were pretty mixed. Some reviewers gave it like really high review scores. I was seeing like 9.5s out of 10. And then other reviewers gave it an 8. And pretty much across the board, everyone said that the combat and character advancement was really engaging and really fun, really well done. However, the world itself, there was a lot of just endless dialogue that was world building. And for some reason, it just fell flat for a lot of people. And they really weren't invested in the story and the characters. And so really the only thing that people seemed to agree on was that the gameplay was really good. Now, this is kind of odd because this game narrative, or this game in general, was created or worked on by a best-selling author, R.A. Salvatore, and a lead designer from the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. So that's a pretty good collaboration, I would think. I don't know the book series that this author's associated with, but they're apparently a best-selling author. So regardless, we have a famous author, and then we have somebody from the Elder Scrolls games working on this. You would think that, world building would be interesting and engaging, but that's okay. The gameplay, it's supposed to be a fun game. So for $40, we're getting this on September 8th. The improvements over the original, it's claiming native 4K support. I find that really difficult to believe. That must be the PC version. Yeah, that has to be the PC version. There's no way that's the PS4 version. That would be ridiculous. PS4 version will probably be
PS4 itself isn't even native 4K.
What's that?
PS4 Pro isn't even native 4K.
Yeah, it just upscales it. Yeah. So that's got to be the PC version. But regardless, we're having increased visuals, obviously touched up textures and everything like that. And they claim to have refined and tweaked the combat to be even more smooth and fun. I imagine this is probably the frame rate is smoother and higher. So, yeah, it's coming out on September 8th. Did either of you play this game when it came out?
Nope.
I did not.
It's one of those games. It's one of those games that I've seen at GameStop on like a used shelf like a billion times. And I've picked it up and looked at it every time because it's kind of got a cool cover, very fantasy-esque looking cover. It makes me want to pick it up, but then I just never have bought it. So, it's coming out on September 8th. I could pick it up then and check it out. I'm kind of turned off by the fact that the reviews all kind of agreed that this story wasn't terrible, but it just wasn't that engaging. And really what was the draw here was the gameplay. I kind of feel like with my RPGs, I want a good mixture of both. And I kind of wonder if this game came out in 2012, is the gameplay still that good? Or is it, just okay? And if it's just okay, and then we have an okay story, I don't know. So I'm kind of on hold here, but I do think it's important to point out that there's a lot of people that are really excited about this game because they enjoyed the original so much. So what do you guys think?
I mean, it was just kind of under the radar. I never really heard about it till long after it came out, and it didn't interest me to play it. I'm definitely more into Western games than I was before. It does look nice, but I don't know how outdated. I don't know if it would be considered outdated or not. I guess I just have to wait till the reviews come in and see what
see if it still plays
the common consensus is of the game. If it still holds up or if it's just kind of lost the time like Oblivion.
See, here's what I wonder too. I'm kind of the reason I'm curious about this game is because since you have literally an author of like book series that like worked on this, I have to think that maybe it just is too wordy, but it is a good story. It's just people are bored with how much text there is. So maybe, giving it a chance now I might be a little bit more patient with that style of game, and it might be a better experience.
Yeah.
Stan?
It may just not be like you can have an experienced author, but if they're not experienced with writing a story for a game, right, then it can get very tricky because it's like a different approach, and so if he took the same approach as like writing it for a novel, and then somebody on the team had to kind of condense that or like translate his dialogue and story into a game, so that it still flows smoothly in the gameplay, then that might have been where the issue was. But I didn't play it, so I can't really know. I can only speculate, but there's like a million things, not a million things. There's a lot of things that can go wrong if you're like trying to write for like a movie screenplay or like a book, and then just like adapt that right into a game,
Right.
Because
I guess you would need to approach it more like how George R.R. Martin is approaching Elden Rings. Like, George is going to create the world and the lore and stuff like that, but I believe it's going to be from Software who makes a story out of that world and characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how they're approaching it, because again, like you just said, George R.R. Martin is an author for books, not
Video games, yeah.
video games. And it's the same thing for like the TV show. Like, he's an author for books, but he's not like a director for TV. Like, he can come in and say, no, this is not what the characters would do, and this is not how the scene plays out in the book correctly. But like, that's not his thing, and that's the same thing with video games. So like, he'll even create the story beats, but it may be the developers' responsibility to make it work within a realm of a game.
Right.
And I think Kingdom of Amalur may have just been like the early steps of that.
Yeah.
And seeing what works and what doesn't work, bringing an author in, and maybe that's just it. Maybe the author just had too much creative control and just didn't understand the concept of how video games are paced.
Well, we're doing a lot of speculation here for not having played it. So
True.
So we'll just have to.
Hey, I'm not claiming to say I know. Just
speculating. Yeah, I
just a
understand.
theory.
Theory. Yeah. Just want to point out also, George R. R. Martin, he did have a long career in writing for television. So he actually wrote a lot of the episodes from the first 4 seasons before he finally quit the show.
Really?
So,
where the hell was he on season 8?
He said after the 4th season, he saw what they were trying to do in season 5, and he said, you know what? I'm just going to go home and collect my paychecks. And if you have a question, call me. And then they never called him. And he kept getting paid, and he was okay with that. But anyways, so we had a big tangent there. But yeah, so anyways, September 8th, I mean, for $39.99, if you don't have anything else going on, I mean, this might be something worth checking out. Look at the reviews, see what's going on with this. I mean, it's coming to the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. So it's, odds are you own one of those consoles. This might be a decent time to pick it up. So I would say keep it on your radar. Because it does have a following. It's not like everyone hated it, right? There is a group of people that really enjoyed it. So
At least it catered to a niche audience.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next game here. This game, I'm actually pulling from the YouTube channel Contra Network, who uploaded the first 15 minutes of gameplay, mostly because the trailer I felt was really old that's out there. And this is much more a better emphasis of where the game currently is, right? So this game called Minoria, I think it's called Minoria, Minoria. It's coming out on September 10th, 2020. It's going to be it's $19.99 currently on Steam. You can go play it right now, but it's also going to come to Switch, PS4, and Xbox One on September 10th. And the game has reviewed very well on Steam. And it's developed by a developer called Bomb Service. They are known for creating I never played this game before, but Minoria Reverie Under the Moonlight, which is currently $14.99 on Switch. And it's a well-received pixel art Metrovania styled RPG. And this game, Minoria, is supposed to be a spiritual successor to that game. So this game's a little interesting because it does use a lot of RPG mechanics, more so than you see with these styles of games. But it has a strong story focus, and people really like the art aesthetic of this game. It seems like from the Steam reviews, people really enjoyed the story. Like I said, the music all got great reception. So where are you guys with this game? What are your thoughts?
It looks all right. It's I mean, the art aesthetic does look unique. It doesn't look like it appeals to me much, however.
Really?
Yeah, something, I don't know. I don't know, maybe something about the characters I don't care much for.
Yeah, it's got like a very like gothic look to it, but the character art itself kind of goes for like a very smooth look, which is an interesting take for sure. But
Yeah, I mean, it's got that typical Japanese anime. And now, it doesn't look like generic anime, don't get me wrong. It's just like, so
yeah,
something about it just doesn't really say wow to me. But
the
I mean,
thing that really stood out to me though, and I wish I could just turn this music on and then like you could hear the sound effects and everything, but I'm afraid that this might get claimed, and then we'll have to pull this out of the podcast and everything like that. But it's got really good sound design to this game because it's got a very calm sounding music for the atmosphere that they're presenting here, with her running through this like dungeon type experience with all these candles and torches. And you can hear the torches and candles, just kind of the flame flickering and just like different things burning. And you can hear like little bugs and stuff. And like, it just has a nice calming sound design to the game that I think gives it a really relaxing feel to it, which I think is part of the reason people kind of enjoy these games, is kind of a couch zombified, just kind of like chill night. But apparently the story itself is actually supposed to be pretty good too. I really liked at the original start of this game, it starts off with a world map and kind of gives you a layout of the land and different locations with different areas. It kind of really sets up the world building that has been kind of pointed out with this game. That's really well done. So I almost get like a Final Fantasy Tactics vibe with this Metroidvania styled RPG. It's kind of interesting to me the more I looked at it. Stan, where are you at?
I don't know. I guess kind of similar to Eric. For me, it's not really moving the needle much. Like I think it looks good for what it is, and a good price point. The $20, right?
Right.
At least on Steam, that's the current price. So I would assume that the console version would be very close to that. Yeah, I don't have anything like bad to say or point out about it. It's just I don't know. I'm not
So
really
you hate
into
it.
these. No, I don't hate it. It's just
The only
nothing
thing-
about it is really grabbing me.
we
But,
live in that age now. There used to be a time where a Metroidvania style game was far in between, and I would love to try anything that takes on that genre. But now we've been oversaturated, flooded with these type of games, to the point now that I have gotten picky with them.
Mm.
Like, which one of these do I actually feel like playing now?
yeah, the only
good
thing
problem to have. Yeah.
The only thing that I could say that really I kind of stands out to me as if I wanted to be critical is that she's kind of got like a flowing feel to her when she's running that doesn't feel very. I feel like she should be moving a little bit quicker, or it's like she gains too much ground when she runs. I guess I don't know.
Oh.
Does that make sense? Like the animation doesn't seem quite tight enough for me, but I think they kind of did that on purpose. I think it was a stylistic choice to make it feel more like just kind of jive with that relaxing, calm feel, to have a character that just kind of floats rather than, I'm just used for these types of games. I'm used to a character that jumps, and then goes immediately back down, right? Or like they move really fast. And this character doesn't do that. But I think the biggest thing that's getting me with this is just the story itself is supposed to be really good. So that's always a big pull for me. So, but yeah, $20 coming out on September 10th, and will be on the Switch, PS4, and Xbox One, or you can check it out now on Steam. So, Minoria. Let's move on to the next one. This is Eric's favorite game franchise. So we have...
no, I've never played it, so who knows? Maybe it could be.
This is, Eric's favorite game studio, Falcom, making Trails of Cold Steel 4. It's coming on October 27th, 2020 to the PlayStation 4, and then Switch and PC in 2021. It's going to be $60 on PS4. And unfortunately, with this game, I felt like it was kind of mandatory to put it on here because it is a big series game. But if you have not played the other games, like me, from what I understand from other people that have played these, that they're like, no, you need to play these games in order. The story just kind of continues and draws from the other games. So it's not really a game that you want to just pick up on the fourth one. So as a small caveat to this, I will say that you can go on Amazon right now and pick up the very first game on the PS4 for $39.99, and it has almost a perfect user score. All the games do on Amazon, and this has a big fan following. Practically, like, I'm sorry, you can see a Falcom fan from a mile away. I swear, like, once this game comes up, you can just see that little glimmer in their eye, and you have about 8 seconds to leave the room, or else they're going to talk your head off about this series, because people love these games. It's the stories and the characters. They just really, really love it. And I still need to get into it, especially with the RPG podcast. I feel bad that I haven't played more. But yeah, dude, if you have not checked this out, I can say just there's a lot of people that really like these. And you can go pick up the first game, play it right now for $39.99, and you have enough time to beat this game and then the two sequels and be ready for this game on October 27th. I mean, it's basically about a month for each game. So that's very reasonable.
Now, let me ask, should you play Trails in the Sky 1, 2, and 3 before Trails of Cold Steel 1, 2, 3, and 4?
From what I understand, and if one of you know, correct me, but from what I understand, those draw on each other, but they made Trails of Cold Steel as like a separate entry point. So people could start with Trails of Cold Steel 1 and be pretty okay. They don't have to play the other games, because they were getting worried that people would feel intimidated that they had to play 8 freaking games, right? To be up to date. So, but from what I understand, Trails of Cold Steel 1 through 4 is like its own self-contained thing.
I think that's right. You can just play the Cold Steel series and you're not, there's not like missing pieces of a story that you're not getting if you do that. Really.
I think there's Easter eggs from the other games, but nothing that's gonna.
Yeah, and there are characters that will, like a few characters that will, even in the first Cold Steel 1, which is the only one I've played, there was a character in there that was like from Trails of the Sky, the first game of the Sky series, and I was like, oh, it's him, you know. But if you don't know who that is, like from the previous game, you're not like clueless to that character's motivation or something. You know what I mean? Like he's just in the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've only played the first Cold Steel game and the first Trails in the Sky game, so I'm way behind on that series, but I do eventually want to play them all.
You played the first Trails of Cold Steel game. Would you agree with the perfect user score on Amazon?
It's perfect, like 5.0 out of 5.0
I went to Amazon
stars.
and it was just 5 stars. Like across the board. And I was like, Jesus. You know, Amazon's one of the most critical places ever. People will nitpick any product. So I thought, wow, that's pretty good.
I think it's a really, really good game. There is definitely some like anime fan service aspect to it. And if that turns you off, like, and I mean like not not as much as like some of these other games that we see. You know, like it's definitely like toned down compared to like you know, games that are made for that purpose. You know, but it's still there. Like it's still there to cater to that kind of fan. So if that like really really turns you off, I don't want to say it'll turn you off to the whole game, but it'll make it not a perfect or not a really great game for you probably. But in terms of like an RPG with world building, it's got turn-based combat similar to Final Fantasy X, like a kind of a conditional turn-based system. Good characters. Most lines in the game are voiced, I believe. Really good music. I like the music. So like overall, it's a really solid package. It's just if anime tropes bother you, then that's like the deal breaker.
The thing that bothered me about Trails in the Sky when I first played it, was like,
is to be clear, was the not from this series, but it's the related series on the PSP, right?
yeah, which always turned me off from trying the other games, is that there's just something off about the writing. It's like they feel like they need to talk too much in the conversation. They need to go to like other non-relevant things while they're speaking, and it prolongs it so much that sometimes I just doze off, and I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's that aspect of it is definitely there in Cold Steel as well. At least the first one, which I played. Characters will just talk about things that are not plot relevant, I guess you could say. They'll just talk about like, oh yeah, like what's your favorite thing to do on a Sunday? And they're like, oh, I like to go shopping, you know, whatever. And then they have like you read 2 paragraphs about like what they like to go shopping for or whatever, you know. And this is just like an NPC, like not a main character, you know. So it's a different take to world building that it kind of assumes like you have all the time in the world to listen to what these people have to say. But some people feel like that's the game, like not respecting your time, and other people feel that it's like you're playing a visual novel / RPG. I think Persona is a good comparison. Like Persona 4 has kind of the same vibe to it. There's a lot of conversations that don't really advance the plot, but it's just the 2 characters like kind of conversing.
See, I streamed Trails in the Sky, right? For the PSP, the first one. And I played that on PC, and then I kept playing it a little bit further, and I ended up going into something else just because, you know, something else came out that I was looking forward to. But I had a very good time with it. I enjoyed a lot of that world building because, and again, I didn't beat the whole game, so maybe if I beat the game, I would be more in line with what you guys are saying. But I felt like a lot of the extra dialogue really did flesh out the world building for the game. For the story, it made me kind of aware of what was going on and kind of the attitudes in the towns. You know, it really did expand my appreciation for the story more than I think it would if I had not had that. However, of course, there's a limit. I always bring up, Lord of the Rings when I'm reading. I try reading those books, and Frodo says hello to a dwarf, and the dwarf immediately starts reading 8 pages of the lineage of the dwarves. And it's like, why are you telling Frodo this? This is mind numbing. Or, Hobbit cakes. I don't need to know about the mixture of frosting on all 18 cupcakes. Like I want to hang myself. Just get me to the next point. So maybe, there's a line to be crossed where, maybe that's a little too much. And I guess it's just everyone has different thresholds for that.
Yeah, I mean, like anime has those tropes too, where they just kind of go off, just kind of go off tangent on something before it kind of gets back to the main point. I guess my tolerance for these anime tropes has just gotten lower and lower over the years, because I feel like if I was 14 again, I would be totally into the Falcom games. And I'm not saying that only 14-year-olds like the game. I'm just thinking to myself that like I used to really like stuff today I would look at as more generic looking
Mhm.
today. Again, not saying it's generic. Don't come after me. But um I'm just saying I was more heavily into like any JRPG I could find back at the time and
Right.
enjoy it. But now today it's like I really look through it and I'm like, man, this doesn't look like something I want to play. It's like I don't see anything special or unique about it.
Well, if you are looking at this and it does look like this might appeal to you, just know, like I said, that it has a lot of great reviews everywhere I look. There's a big fan following of these games, and they're very well received across the board for most people that kind of stick with it. So this is a good opportunity, I think, right now, with this being, we're kind of waiting on the next generation of consoles. There's not a lot of games coming out that people are excited for. I mean, you got the fourth game coming out October 27th on PS4, Switch, and PC that a lot of people are excited for. PS4 on October, Switch and PC later. So you do have enough time to go and pick up the first game, beat it, pick up the second game, beat it, etc., and be ready to go for the fourth game. So you could have just this never-ending cycle of stories if it's something that appeals to you. So I think it's something to look into if you're just really not happy with your current availability of games. I think it's a real opportunity right now. So,
Yeah, don't listen to me. I'm a negative Nancy.
Yeah, just tune Eric out. Anyways, next game is going to be Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. This is a game that's coming out on November 10th, 2020. It's $39.99, which is going to be on the PS4, Switch, and Steam. It's a developer called Edelweiss, and it's previously developed a heavy story-based mech shoot-'em-up Star Fox-styled game called Asbreed, which received great reviews. And this is their follow-up game. And this is described as an action simulation RPG where players will farm, create a home, battle demonic beasts through side-scrolling action with deep crafting and farming simulation with RPG mechanics. The story is based on real Japanese folklore, and this is kind of just the on-screen version of some of that they've researched. And yeah, I think this game looks really, really appealing from a visual aesthetic. Like, it's very interesting how much it kind of bounces back and forth between like the side-scrolling aspect, and then you go into like the sim-based aspect where it's more traditional 3D. And I really like the way that it looks. However, I'm not a big fan of like the kind of like Sims based like Animal Crossing styled games where you have to like build a home and stuff like that. I get bored with those types of games fairly quickly, and so I'm not really on board with that aspect, although I do think it looks good. And I'm not a huge side-scrolling fan either. I'm not against it, but it's just, this is kind of like a soft no for me right now. Unless it starts just trending and people are really recommending it, I'm probably not going to pick it up. But it is an option for people that do like these types of games.
Yeah, it is an interesting contrast I noticed, like in the trailer, because like the 2D aspect of the game looks like it plays very fast. Like it looks really kind of fast paced and almost frantic, right? Like the combat, like multiple enemies on the screen all at once, and you can kind of you have a lot of tools to, it looks like there's like a grapple system where you can kind of like grapple onto the walls and the ceiling. And then I'm just seeing like the character kind of fighting this boss, and there's like damage numbers flying all over the place. And then in the next frame of the trailer, it's like she's cutting wheat, on the or she's like using a tool to like kind of dig up the dirt and start laying down the crops. It's like,
it seems like something you can put a lot of time into, because if you get bored with one aspect, you can go do the other thing.
Yeah, it's two kind of styles of gameplay that you would not see put together very often. I wonder how that feels to play. Like, are you just itching to get back to the fast-paced platforming action, like when you're doing the farming, or like, is it worth it? Like, does that? How do they um, coincide? Like, are you getting like stronger if you like really pay attention to the farming aspect of the game, or what's the deal with that? Kind of hard to tell from this trailer, but
You know, I can totally dig a game like this, but the farming aspect may be a turnoff to me.
yeah.
Like, I like how the action of the game and everything. I mean, aesthetically, it's beautiful and looks like it plays smoothly, similar to Odin Sphere. But
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I hate it when if there's something I really don't care about doing in games, it's farming and crafting. They're like, hey, let's just add that whole element in there.
See,
I'm sure there's a subset of audience that loves that stuff, but damn, it's a major turnoff for me.
I'm a very light crafting type of person. I like little things. Like I liked Dragon Quest 11, you know, where there's kind of like mixing two components together and it's optional. I like that, but I don't like spending 12 hours like building a town or something. You know, like I don't want to do that.
I don't mind crafting if it's not overly intrusive, but if it's like the main point of your game to upgrade and be able to do more stuff, then it's like
But there
it's
are
gonna be
people that really do like that type of stuff. So this seems like a very unique take on that with the Japanese aesthetic and just you know, kind of the bouncing between the side scrolling stuff and then back into the, you know, farming and crafting and collecting materials and that type of thing. So would be it seems like there would be an audience. So
yeah, there's definitely an audience for it. It's
just not you.
Just not me.
Yeah, I feel you. This next game might be more your style. It's definitely my style. Cris Tales. So this game is set to come out on November 17th, 2020, and it's coming to the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Switch, PC, and Stadia. Damn near everything except mobile phone. And it's developed by Dreams Uncorporated. Kind of a weird name, but it's got hand-drawn artwork. The gameplay is turn-based combat, but the premise of the story is based on this girl who has a looking glass in which she can see in real time how her decisions impact the future and the past. And this plays into the story where she has to make decisions to try to prevent things from happening. And she can see what's going to happen in real time. And they kind of show this in the trailer where you're seeing, you know, scenes where it looks like, you know, it's kind of medieval looking and then suddenly it's futuristic. And then, you know, it'll go back to like super primitive again. And it seems like a really cool concept to do this in real time like this. We kind of saw similar stuff with Radiant Historia, but that was a little bit differently because you would have to literally replay the same segment of a game again to redo and talk to the same NPCs again just to make a different decision. Whereas this kind of lets you see that in real time, which is pretty cool. And, you know, the hand-drawn artwork is just excellent looking. I do want to point out also that a writer on this game is Pat Hallman, who is the author of the Reverse Design books. And so I think that's really cool. I really respect his game design and story analysis. So I think it's really cool that he contributed to this game as well. And I do also want to point out that you can currently go play a demo of this game right now. If you just Google it, there's a demo on, I believe, PC right now that you can check out. And the developers actually released a video in response to a survey that they did based on the demo when they released it. And they just basically kind of went over the results and anything that was criticized. They were very vocal about what they were doing to respond to it. So one of the examples was some of the voice acting, the characters, people felt like they mispronounced certain words with the accent. So they called the voice actors back to re-record a lot of these lines. And things like that to kind of make this a better experience, and it was very well received from the demo. So I definitely think that this is a game that I am going to pick up for sure. My only grievance is that it's coming out around the same time as Cyberpunk.
Oh,
Well,
I like where this game is going. I didn't play the demo, but I watch aspects of the demo, and I think this is my jam. I think this is something I want to get into and see how it is. I love the art style. I love the aesthetics. I like the interface of the battle system. Like everything looks smooth and artistic, and it's something I definitely want to keep my eye on at least.
it's very
Like you
unique.
said, it is coming. It is coming during a heavier release season. So
With Cyberpunk,
it may not get purchased immediately by me, but unless people are like, "Oh my god, it's the greatest thing ever! You have to play it right now."
dude, this game looks awesome. It might be the greatest thing ever.
But I will definitely add it to my wish list when it comes out.
Yeah, Stan, where are you at with this?
I mean, it looks unique for sure. Like the art style is it doesn't just look good. It's like there's something about it that's
Well, it's hand drawn.
yeah, hand drawn, and like I don't know, I get like almost like an early Disney film vibe from the graphics, like
Yeah.
or like from how it is, like almost like a Snow White or like a Cinderella kind of. At least maybe that's like the architecture of kind of the buildings, which is like kind of a European style, and like I don't know, the points are like very accented, or I don't know what the right word, emphasized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that looks cool. That looks unique. And it looks like turn-based combat where you can see the turn order like up above, which looks pretty cool. I like that. That's like reminiscent of Final Fantasy X,
Mm-hmm.
which is a combat system I like a lot.
What do you think about this element where in the trailer you can kind of see it around 31 seconds? This idea that you can experience the past, present, and future simultaneously. So you can kind of see like a more futuristic area, and then you can see, you know, where it was in the past and you know, in the present. I saw some gameplay from the demo where they showed an example where she plants a seed in the ground, and then through this ability, she's able to see what the tree looks like, you know, fully grown, that type of thing. That just seems really cool to be able to do that simultaneously in game like that.
Yeah, as long as it has unique gameplay aspects to it, I think that would be a neat concept to have. It reminds me of the Sandship dungeon in Zelda Skyward Sword.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
where you had to control the time flow. Like you weren't going back and forth in time,
Mhm.
but you were using object time stones that would make the specific area of the dungeon in the past instead of the current present. So that would be cool if they just take this and just amplify the hell out of that.
yeah. It was like if I'm remembering correctly, it was a desert area, right? And you move around, and like, but as you like move the object around, you would see that it used to be like all water, right? Like it was like all.
Yeah, or if you had like a broken robot, you could put the time stone near it, and the robot would come back to the way it was
In the past, yeah.
in the past. Yeah, so like you weren't jumping back in time, but the area around the circle was the past.
Yeah, so I agree. It would be it is a cool feature, right? They haven't shown in like how it will affect the gameplay, or if it will. I would hope it would. Like I would hope it would affect the gameplay, like in some way, like you actually play the game. Like if you can, I don't know, like go plant a tree over here, and then like somebody sees that, and then like if you somehow make that area on the future screen, all of a sudden you see like it's a whole forest or something. You know,
Like,
kinda
I could see a cool gameplay mechanic being like, okay, I need to get some health items. So what you do is you plant an item in the ground, like I had said earlier, and then like you shift over to the future part, and there's a tree like full of like apples that will heal you.
Yeah, something like that. That
Yeah,
would be
so
cool.
I look forward to seeing what they do with it. I hope it's just not like a simply a narrative thing. Like I really hope they add like unique gameplay aspects to it.
Well, it
Mhm.
looks like I saw they used some of this feature element with some of the combat, like in battle too. At around 43 seconds, they kind of have that, or 41. Anyways, so it looks like they're incorporating it in other ways too. But yeah, we'll just have to see. I definitely am going to pick this game up though. Of all the games that we've shown, I've been kind of like, I'm definitely going to pick up Oceanhorn 2, and then Cris Tales. I'm definitely I'm picking this game up as well. So yeah. So again, it's coming out on November 17th. We don't have a price yet, but PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series X, Switch, PC, Stadia. So very cool. All right, next game is a game that you guys have probably not heard of yet, but it's called Cyberpunk 2077. It's a game that has a kind of up and coming actor in it, Keanu Reeves. So hopefully this is
Never heard of him.
his breakout role. But,
Yeah.
anyways, I'm sure you guys have all heard about this, but it's being made by CD Projekt Red, which, if you don't know, they are the developer behind the Witcher games. So a lot of expectations here. This is clearly a different route for them. This is not the medieval take that they're known for, but it's going to be $59.99. It's going to be coming out on November 19th, and it's going to be coming to the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series X, Switch, PC, and Stadia. So it's confirmed to be backwards compatible on both the Series X and the PS5. So if you buy the PS4 or the Xbox One version, it will be playable on the next gen console. So you have that option. And, there's so many trailers out right now. They're releasing a trailer, it seems like every week, where they're, and these trailers are like 20 minutes long. It's crazy. Where they're just showing off giant aspects of this game. But just to give you a short little glimpse, it is a game that takes place in a city called Night City, which is Northern California in the year 2077. And it's just, they said in the game anyways, this city was voted as the worst place to live in America. So this is definitely a compromised area with lots of corruption and lots of gang activity and all sorts of criminal activity. And it's a great place to start, a player in a video game. So, but yeah,
I
guys.
want to make, but I'll be nice. But is it like a fictional city or is it like an actual?
Well, I don't think there might be a Night City. I don't know. I don't think there's actually.
So.
No, what I mean, like, is it like an actual city in America or is it like a fictional city?
It's a fictional city placed in North America of the United. Like, I think this is actually like separated from the United States, if I remember correctly at this point. So I don't know if I'm answering. It's not, Night City's not a real place, but it's taking place in the United States, if that makes sense. I don't know if it's modeled after a real city, though. I don't think it is, though.
Yeah, so it's not like New York or
I got
Detroit.
you. Yeah, it's not like like Las Vegas or something. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Okay, so it's fiction. Gotcha.
Yep. Fictional place. But guys, I am so excited for this game. I cannot wait to play it. And I find it absolutely baffling when I hear people say that they're not going to, pick up a PS5 or an Xbox Series X because there's not very many launch games. But I'm looking at the Series X and it's like all their games are backwards compatible. This game to me looks like it's just very much a launch title for next gen. Like, I want to play this on the PS5. It seems like the perfect way to play this for me personally. But the only concern that I have with this game, to be honest, and I've seen this said a few places, is there's so much hype surrounding this game that I kind of wonder if it can actually live up to what they're promising here, because, what happens if this game comes out and it gets like an 8.5, like people are just expecting this to be the like second coming of like great video games. Right. And it just seems so big and so large. And You know, there's people pointing out that how is like all the footage that we've seen has been mostly running on like PCs, and we haven't really seen a lot of like PS4 footage. What does this game look like on the PS4? You know, there's a lot of NPCs going around with a lot of different activity going on. That's a lot of stuff to have on screen at one time. What does this look like on a PS4? You know, so I don't know, but I think it's going to be awesome. I'm excited to play it, and hopefully I can play it on a PS5 if a PS5 is out by then.
And, just to further clarify what you said earlier, not only is it backwards compatible, I believe if you get it digitally, I can't confirm physical, but if you purchase the game digitally on PS4 or Xbox One, and then you get a PS5 or a Xbox Series X for free, they will let you digitally upgrade.
It's the same thing with the physical also, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, the physical as well?
Yes. So
it's a great deal because a friend of mine got it. Amazon had a deal on it for like $50, and then if the next gen version is a free upgrade, that's a steal right there.
Yeah, because could you imagine if they came out and said, of course, there's going to be a PS5 or Xbox Series X version, but like, and then everyone's just like, okay, I'm not going to buy the PS4 version, and I'm just going to wait till the PS5 version comes out. They probably know this, and they're like, well, we can't have that. So we'll be like, well, they already bought it. Chances are they won't buy the PS5 version. So just let them upgrade it for free.
That's the thing. Like if that exact situation came out, so like, let's say this game launched on November 19th. We don't have release dates for the consoles yet. We kind of know it's going to be in November, but let's say that the consoles don't come out till like December 10th. Well, I'm not going to buy this game on the 19th, probably, right? If it wasn't backwards compatible, because this game just seems like this would be better on a next gen console. And if you're going to buy a next gen console, there's no other launch game that's probably going to be more attractive to play than this one on a next gen console. So I would absolutely wait. So I guess the only thing that's still kind of up in the air though, is if I bought it on the 19th, I would want to be able to transfer my save data, you know, because it would kind of suck if I bought it and then I just had to sit there and like look at the case for like 2.5 weeks until I got a console, you know. That would suck. But Stan, you got any thoughts on this before we move on to the next game?
I mean, I'm excited for it. I don't think I'm going to be playing it right away just because I have such a huge backlog, which I mentioned earlier, of really great games that I have to get to, you know, before I move on to the next generation. But you're right. There definitely is a ton of hype surrounding this game, which I feel like kind of really started bubbling up when they had the E3 presentation and they announced Keanu Reeves was going to be a guest appearance in the game. That just like from that moment on, it feels like just every bit of information coming out about this game has like just taken it. It's just like incrementally all of a sudden this is like the most anticipated game in, I don't know, a very long time. Like for
your Navi fairy in this game. Like he's supposed to be in your head, right?
Oh,
like
Keanu Reeves. Yeah, he's playing Johnny Silverhand. From what I understand, he's supposed to be like a voice in your head or something you see.
Yeah,
he's your Navi.
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah. I mean,
but
I was just gonna say, like, dude, they're releasing so many like check out Cyberpunk like promotional videos where they're like literally like a half hour long. Like they call them episodes. And I think they're on like the third episode where each one's 30 minutes long. And each one of these has like over 1 million views. Like it's crazy that like there's so much attention towards this that this game is going to sell like crazy.
I think so, yeah. And I just checked Amazon. They have it for $49.99, both the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One version. So you can get it for $50. Now, if you want to play it day one, I don't know, maybe you go digital because, you know, there's the times we live in, there's like shipping delays with these games all the time. So I don't know if
I'm
that's
just,
worth
no,
the 10.
I want the physical version, so I'm just gonna wait.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
far, at least on AAA releases, it's been more than fine to get a physical copy. So I have every confidence that Cyberpunk is going to be okay.
Yeah. But anyways, like I said, though, I'm going to be playing this on the PS5 for sure, just because I've already seen during the presentations. I mean, the load times are dramatically reduced. They're basically gone from what they're saying. So I just think having that fast paced, loading with such a large map and just getting like a really smooth frame rate, I think like that's just the way to go for this game. So I'm definitely going to hold out for playing this on the PS5. So
You got a fancy PC coming in, and you're not gonna play Cyberpunk on that, boy.
well, I don't think this is. Well, I guess it's coming to PC on November 19th too. No, I'm going to play it on the PS5.
I'm gonna play it on PC just because I want to play the mouse keyboard setup with it.
That's true. I didn't even think of that. I did not even think of that. I do have a pretty nice PC I'm most likely going to play it on PS5 just because I want the physical version, and I want something to play on my new console. So, yeah,
that is true. Also, if you just got a PS5, and Cyberpunk's coming out around the same time.
Yeah, and I got between this and Ratchet and Clank. No offense to Ratchet and Clank, but
Bug Snacks or
dude, Cyberpunk, bro.
Yeah.
Come on. Especially like if people are getting like a Series X and like Halo Infinite's just been delayed. Like, dude, it's Cyberpunk. That's the game you're gonna play. There's nothing else. Who are you fooling? So yeah, this looks great though. Let's move on to our next game though. This will be our last game of the evening. So this is a well-known game on this channel. December 4th, 2020, for $39.99. You can buy the Switch version of Dragon Quest XI for the PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Xbox. Well, it'll be on Xbox Game Pass. And this is special because we got this game on PS4, but it didn't have all the additional content that came to the Switch version. So now you're getting the orchestra, you're getting the new side quests, you're getting, the 16-bit mode that everyone likes. So it's like a Super Nintendo version of the game. So you're getting all that on December 4th to be able to play basically on any version or any console. So $39.99. I think that's a great deal. Game Pass, even better deal.
Buy it.
Yeah, that's all you got to say.
It's one of the best AAA JRPGs of this generation, without a doubt. Like, if you're someone clamoring for a classic JRPG, but want it in a like modern aesthetic setting, or well, what I more mean is like you want a very modern classic JRPG. This is the way to go.
Yeah, for sure.
Quest 11, a must play.
Yep, it's a great game. So especially for Game Pass, I mean that's a deal, dude. That's a real deal. So
yeah, for sure. If you have Game Pass, then that's a no-brainer. You should definitely
like
get that.
Even if you don't want to pay $40, or just get on Game Pass, do the free trial thing, beat Dragon Quest XI in the 3D and 2D form, then cancel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I did with Outer Worlds. Essentially, I got on the Game Pass, I played it, and I got right off the Game Pass. I mean, it's a good service. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying that was the only reason I wanted to be on it. And I accomplished what I set out to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, you got your money's worth. It was a good deal. You didn't get hooked into it. So I think you should be proud. That's what Microsoft is banking on, that you're going to play one game on there and you're never going to cancel your subscription. Like Final Fantasy 14 got with me, where I paid 5 months of subscription, but I played it for a month. So anyways, so that's going to wrap up this episode. We were talking about possibly having a discussion on what we've been playing, but we're at an hour and 53 minutes right now. So I think that this is probably a good time to close. But that is 11 RPGs that you can play going forward for the rest of 2020. So there should be no talk anymore about there not being anything to play, because we just showed you some wide variety of RPGs, everything from Western games to JRPGs to Metroidvania style games. So there's a lot out there to play. So, but yeah, appreciate your time. And I think that we will have to end it here. So check you all next week. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care.
See you next time.